Welcome back to Ravenous Babble. My name is Dan, and today I'll be babbling on about the recent banned and suspended announcement, upcoming products, and the changes that are coming to Blitz with Skirmish Season 7. Let's get into it. So let's start with the recent banned and suspended announcement. On July 3rd, it was announced that Oldhim, Grandfather of Eternity, had attained Living Legend status in Classic Constructed and will no longer be legal, along with his signature weapon, Winter's Wail. In addition, Bullseye Bracers has been banned, Pulse of Eisenloft has been unbanned, although no hero can currently play it, and Bloodsheath Skeleton has been moved from suspended until Viserai obtains Living Legend status to banned, unfortunately. Rest in peace, Bloodsheath Skeleton. I recently bought a cold foil in hopes that maybe one day it'll get unbanned for Classic Constructed, but those hopes have been kind of dashed at this point. So, Living Legend format? Yeah. I'll be getting out my cold foil Bloodsheath Skeleton and cold foil Dustblade when that format hits. You can bet on that. The Bullseye Bracers ban, the community's been kind of split on it. Bullseye Bracers getting removed from Azalea kinda sucks, but the ban was definitely intended for Lexi. Lexi has been performing very well. She's been converting to top 8 very well, and hasn't really converted well to winning the entire tournament, but that has been generally because of Oldhim. So I don't know where she's going to fall now that Oldhim's gone. The meta is definitely going to get shaken up because some decks are going to come out that were just pressured too hard by Oldhim. Now that he's gone, things could change. But a preemptive ban for Bullseye Bracers to kind of bring Lexi's power back down to earth does make sense. A lot of people were hoping 3 of a Kind would get banned, or Endless Arrow, or Rain Razors, but LSS decided to settle on Bullseye Bracers. And it's mostly to reduce the big power turn that Lexi has during a game. I've seen 3 of a Kind Rain Razors turns where you get hit by a bunch of arrows, you get hit by an Endless Arrow, and then you think it's over, you think you made it through, and then, oh, there's the Bullseye Bracers, there's the Endless Arrow again. And it's a landslide of damage, and it's really rough to get through it. So I do think that this makes Lexi more reasonable. I don't think that it makes her unplayable whatsoever, and I'm willing to see where it goes. I was in the 3 of a Kind crowd, so we'll see what happens. LSS did say that if the removal of Bullseye Bracers alongside with the introduction of new cards from Dusk Till Dawn were to have an impact on the playability of Ranger, there's a good chance that they would go back and revert this decision in a future ban and suspended announcement. So we'll see what happens. We'll see if they get it back. We'll see if they don't get it back. If they get it back and lose 3 of a Kind, we gotta wait for the meta to actually kind of settle to see where Lexi's at and to see what would need to be done to fix that balance or misbalance when the time comes. And speaking of Dusk Till Dawn affecting the metagame, the Dusk Till Dawn pre-release was this past weekend. Hopefully you were all able to make it out to an event or 2 in your area. I myself was able to make it to 2 events. The first one I played Prism and I went 1-2. And the second one I played Prism again and went 2-1. Personally, and I'm not trying to make excuses here, but it probably should have been a 3-0 for me in that second one because I was the only Prism in my pod. My deck was absolutely nutty, but being that I started 2 weeks after Pro Tour New Jersey last year, I've never had the opportunity to play against Chain or play as Chain, so I didn't realize that I could probably just wait him out, just get there by fatiguing him. I definitely would have changed at least 1 or 2 plays that were very impactful in the game, where I thought maybe I could take a little bit of damage and throw a big crack back. Yeah, that didn't really play out well, so, it is what it is. It's a learning experience. My next 2 rounds were both against Levia, and I won both of them fairly well. That should be enough to show how powerful my deck was, and that unfortunately my round 1 loss was, let's face it, kind of a skill issue. I think we might be drafting more Monarch in the near future just because it was a really fun experience. We don't get to draft that often in our area, so maybe I'll be able to get some redemption at those drafts. Of course, there isn't anything big up for grabs at those drafts like the Cold Foil Heroes, but hey, you win some, you lose some. All in all, the Monarch draft experience was actually really fun. My only complaint I think that I would have about these particular pre-releases is that the prize support felt a little lacking. I remember specifically doing Outsiders pre-release and getting a ton of packs, and you're also getting your sealed packs or your draft packs, whichever it is, whatever limited format you end up doing at the event. But this one felt lackluster because you're getting 3 Monarch packs to draft with, and you might be lucky enough to win some Dusk Till Dawn packs at the event. Now, although both events I went to were set up in a way that if you went 03, you weren't going to get anything prior to the event, once we got to the event and we talked to these stores running the events, they were both more than willing to provide a pity pack if you did go 03 or if you did go 1-2 and didn't actually win any packs. So that was a nice last minute change, but still only walking away with 4 packs on average probably if you did really well at one of these events kind of felt bad, because like I said, if you did do bad, you may have paid $25, $30 to get 3 packs of Monarch and 1 pack of Dusk Till Dawn, and it just didn't feel great. A typical pre-release for a typical set, which this was not, you would get your 3 draft packs worth of cards or your 5 sealed packs plus like 2 or 3 other packs of cards at the end. So unfortunately it did feel like prizing was a little lacking. But again, this is a very unique pre-release in any card game that I've ever done. I've never been to a pre-release where we were celebrating the release of a new set, but playing an older set instead. Now, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. It was a very unique, very interesting experience, and like I said, I had a great time playing the Monarch draft. It was just different, and I feel like there was definitely some things that they could learn from this, improve on, and use that going forward in case there is ever a situation where we do something like this again, which I can see that happening with something like Tales of Aria. But overall, it was a good experience. I just felt like the prizing could have been a little better, and if there were to be something like this again in the future, maybe they could give stores more prize support, only because we would be drafting a set that was something we've already touched, maybe have full collections of and all that jazz, and aren't really getting anything early as a pre-release celebration. We're still getting cards. You could still rare draft if you want to. Maybe you're gonna pull legendary, maybe you're gonna pull value majestic. It could be anything like that. But not getting at least 3 new packs worth of cards just felt off, is probably the best way to put it. Moving on to the next thing on the docket, ICV2, an online trade magazine that covers geek culture for retailers, recently announced the Round the Table product, which is the Flesh and Blood X Tolarian Community College crossover product that we heard about last year at Worlds during that player's reception. The MSRP of this product looks like it's going to be $69.90, releasing on September 8th of 2023, so it's coming up pretty quick. And for that $70-ish price tag, we're looking to get quite a bit. So the description of the product reads, Community College for this new set. Players can play the Professor in a high-tech Evo mech suit, as well as a bard named Melody and a guardian named Bravant. The set comes with 4 ready-to-play Blitz decks with over 100 new cards, a 24-inch rubber playmat, and a 1,000 count storage box. Now, if you price this out, let's say the 4 Blitz decks, right? Generally, you see those go for about $10 to $12, so let's say $12, right? It's about $48 for the 4 decks, and then a playmat would probably fetch you around $20 typically, give or take, depends on the playmat, the quality, etc. But that puts us at $68. Now, considering there's a bunch of new cards in this, over 100, and you get a 1,000 count storage box, which is probably like a special box. I would imagine a special art on it to represent that it's from this product. We definitely get our values worth here. Now, that might be a little early to say because we don't know what these 100 new cards are going to look like. It could be more copies of cards like Muscle Mutt or Toughen Up, these generic cards from something like the Dorinthia vs. Rhinar deck that just will see 0 play outside of that supplemental product, which is fine because if you're keeping these in box as a sort of game night product, those cards are appropriate in that environment. It's just outside of that environment where they kind of fall short. They fall very short, usually. Now you might get something like Titanium Babble where, oh, lo and behold, this card might be kind of decent in the appropriate metagame, but, you know, that's bound to happen with any kind of product and any kind of card game that's being presented like that. Things will slip through, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. That being said, as of right now, we do not know what the fourth hero is. Just knowing the class would be good enough for me. That makes me wonder if maybe this would be the introduction of a new class, and they don't want to announce it in this article. Rather, maybe they're saving the announcement for the professor, or waiting till we get closer to the actual release to kind of build hype. Who knows? I think more likely than not, they just didn't include it in the article, maybe by accident. But we're getting mech cards, right? That's really cool, because Mechanologist hasn't been in an actual standalone set since Arcane Rising, and it can really use it. We only have the one hero, which is Dash, and that's not to say that the Professor is going to be a new Mechanologist hero for something like CC, because, as it says here, these are Blitz decks. But at least there will be new Mechanologist cards, right? So there's some potential there. The thing I'm most excited for, personally, is that Bard deck. Yorick being the only Bard that we have in the game, his instrument being mostly for him, and his specialization obviously only being for him, and all those cards being incredibly expensive, is kind of a letdown for an entire class on its own. And obviously, Yorick is no longer able to be played in a tournament setting for UPF, which is another disappointment. So seeing a new Bard being released is extremely exciting to me, because it's pretty much like getting a new class at this point. Yorick players at home should also be excited for this, because this means you're actually going to have Bard support, I would imagine. I can't imagine they're just going to throw a ton of generics into that deck, right? You guys aren't going to do that, right? You're going to give us actual Bard cards? Yeah? So I think that's really exciting. Now, the one thing that does concern me about this product is the fear that these are more aimed at UPF, period. The article says Blitz decks, but yeah, my fear is that these are UPF decks. And by that, I mean decks full of cards that will not be able to be played in the Blitz format. Now, it could be as simple as the heroes aren't allowed to be played in the Blitz format. That would probably be the most graceful way to restrict the use of these cards, because really the hero is going to be the most impactful part. But when I tell you I would be incredibly disappointed if that was the case, I can't even begin to describe it, because seeing that we're going to get a Bard, I really want that Bard to be playable in Blitz. I'm not asking for it to be good, I'm not asking for it to be overpowered, even mediocre. Just having the option there is nice. And I don't want to see a product come out with a class we've pretty much been waiting for support for, because Yorick, let's face it, isn't really Bard support. Seeing that come out and then having it be restricted to UPF would be kind of feel bad, you know? I'm still going to buy the hell out of this product, because I'm going to want playsets of whatever's in there that's new. I'm going to want one whole standalone box to sleeve up and have a battle box of, because that does seem to be the intended purpose. So more than likely I'll probably buy like a case of 4, because I'm sure there will be one of cards in there that are maybe Majestics that I'm going to need a playset of, because I want a playset of everything. So it is what it is. But yeah, extremely excited for this product. I love to see that there is a rubber playmat included, because getting paper playmats in any product does kind of suck unless it is a literal starter deck. Something like this that is a battle box should come with something more substantial. And the 1000 count box is a nice little collector's piece, I think, so I'll take it. This was a nice surprise that kind of came out of the blue, to be honest, because no one had any idea what was going on with this product since the announcement at Worlds. So hey, September 8th, can't wait. Alright, so Dust Till Dawn releases this Friday. Hopefully everyone's very excited about it. And we've got our first Battle Hardened, with the set being legal literally the following day in Cincinnati. So I'm looking forward to watching that. I don't know about you guys, you should definitely tune in, check it out. There's probably going to be a lot of spice. I'm sure we'll see a lot of people that are just playing their deck that they have been playing, because maybe they don't know what to bring in for the new meta, maybe they just want to be consistent. But I like watching these events for the spice. So hopefully we get some stream matches with Vincent, with Prism, Leviah, Bolton, all those new heroes. Bring them on. Let's get them on stream. Let's see what these people can do. Let's see what they got brewed up. But outside of that event, Skirmish Season 7 is quickly approaching, and with it, some changes to the Blitz format. Now, these changes are only going to apply to these specific events during Skirmish Season 7 as a sort of way to test the waters and see where they want to go with Blitz, whether they want to go back, they want to stick with these changes, maybe go a different direction, but I think this is pretty interesting. So for Blitz, you're now going to present one young hero with up to 52 cards, which is one card up from the current Blitz format. But just like Classic Constructed, the 52 cards can contain a mix of cards that are going in your main deck and your equipment and other cards that would exist in your inventory, or what they're now calling arena cards. But yeah, this effectively makes Blitz kind of like CC Light in a full sense, because you do have an actual sideboard. You don't just have 11 inventory slots for your equipment and your weapon. So this allows decks to be more diverse overall, because right now the way it's set up, if you want to have protection against something like Kano, you might need to run Oasis for Spite's main board, and that might hinder your matchup elsewhere. Same thing goes with something like Sink Below that you would want in every other matchup except for probably Kano. Now you can take those cards out of your deck and you can bring in the appropriate cards. So this should just be a win overall. I think the philosophy there, the design there is perfect. It's spot on. It's what we would want and what we need. The one concern that I do have is that it says present at least 40 cards, which means that if you wanted to, of those 52 cards, you could have your 4 equipment and your 1 weapon. You could say screw it to other equipment and you could just present 47 cards. The only reason I'm a little weary of this is because that could make Fatigue a real strategy. That could make Yoji like a really good hero potentially. We'll see what happens, because decks like Rhinar still exist, so they might just tell you to piss off pretty much with that kind of strategy. But it is intriguing because you have decks like Dash who don't really care too much about those 11 inventory slots that we did have. Personally, myself, I like to fill up all those slots with whatever, like just in case. Who knows what you might run into, right? I like that mindset. But Dash really doesn't need all of that. So this change actually helps Dash quite a bit, because if there's any feedback I had from last skirmish, it was that Dash fatigues pretty easily. And if you don't get there, well, guess you're out of cards, game's over. So this could buy you another 2 or 3 turns probably, maybe more if you play it right. So I might be on Dash again for this skirmish season, just because of that, just taking advantage of that particular change. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, it's a little worrisome, the fact that you could potentially run 47 cards, and Drone of Brutality is now legal. So we'll see what happens, ? But I'm intrigued, I like this change overall. And I do think that 52 cards is pretty solid. I feel like I wouldn't mind seeing something like 53. Like, I don't want it to get pushed too much, but this is 1 card higher than what we had before in terms of an inventory. And some heroes did want almost that full inventory. So those heroes might only have like 2 flex slots for actual cards, 2 to 3, something like that. And that is just enough for what's probably intended here, which is, not having Sink Belows against Kano. And not having Oasis for Spites against decks that you want to just block out constantly, just in case you can't play it. So it definitely solves some problems. I'm interested to see what kind of feedback they get from it. And if you do one of these skirmishes, I believe they're sending out surveys afterwards. Make sure you take that survey, give your honest feedback so that we can get positive change with this format the way the community wants it. Personally, I think I would like to see 53 cards just because it does add slightly more flexibility, but at the same time, if this fatigue strategy is viable, that could be an issue. So kind of comes down to a variety of things, how much equipment on average does a hero need in this format? And with equipment being subtracted out of the extra cards, how many cards do you have as flex space? And do they need to make it 40 cards, or would that be too confusing because you're still making it different from Classic Constructed? Like, at least this is identical to Classic Constructed, just with different numbers. So that's probably the cleanest way to go about it. But yeah, we'll see. I'm pretty hyped on it. It seems like a fun change. So I'm pretty excited for skirmish season at this point. But yeah, that's all I've got for you today. Kind of a short one. Sorry the content's been a little lacking recently. I'm going to work on it, I promise. I actually got a new tripod 2 days ago. It's a nice overhead tripod, so when I'm cracking boxes on Friday, when Dusk Till Dawn comes out, you guys are going to actually get some normal box breaks. Not like weird angles, not shaky camera, not me complaining about my tired arms because I have to have them wrapped around the tripod because that's the only way I can have it set up to record. So I'm pretty excited about that. So look forward to that. I'll at least be cracking a case. I am getting 5 boxes, 1 case and then 1 extra. I'm going to go through my case until I hit the spice, and then I'm going to crack that extra box, the little standalone boy, just in case. Maybe I'll get more legendaries that way. And one of the boxes in the end will get put into an acrylic case for my booster box display. Speaking about that display, small update on that. I am still waiting for the display to be finished. But you can bet as soon as it's done, I'll be showing it off to you guys, and hopefully I'll have a nice backdrop at that point between that and the Arcanite Shard playmat that's framed. Maybe you'll get more FaceTime with me at that point. I've got more to show off then, as opposed to just a cluttered background with a stack of booster boxes, because right now it doesn't look as pretty as it will. Also, side note with these booster boxes, if any of you know where I can score a Belgium box of Outsiders, I may have broken down and opened my display box of Outsiders at one point, like 2 months ago, and I haven't gotten one since, and I haven't had any stores locally stocking Belgium, and the Belgium box is the one I want for display. Just a small preference. So if anyone knows where I can get a Belgium box of Outsiders, they seem like they've been pretty difficult to find, please let me know in the comments down below. And while you're down there, let me know what you think about everything we talked about today. The ban is suspended announcement, changes to Blitz. Are you going to be playing any heroes from Dusk Till Dawn? Let me know. And until next time, stay safe, keep playing great games. I'll catch you on the next one. See ya. Shout out to the Ravenous Babble patrons who keep the channel going. If you would like to support the channel, head over to patreon.com/RavenousBabble and see which tier is best suited for you.